Good afternoon, Whispers. How are you doing today? Oh my goodness, this is Sonia LeRae. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, educator, motivational speaker, and the host of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays that's live every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, located at www.blogtalkradio.com/whispers in a bottle. Please make sure that you are subscribed to our newsletter. We have a live link in the description box of every episode because we bring forth some new things and everything. So I apologize for all the noise and the background sound and everything today because I'm actually just broadcasting out of my home studio today. So it's just a little different and kind of like a little noisy because I'm just kind of positioned in a different place. But you know what? Today is Mindset Sunday. I came in here real quick because there's been so much going on and different things that all of you have asked and you've been tapping into and asking me questions about. I thought, look, why not have a little tea and we will just kind of chat it up a little bit. So, Mindset Sunday. Hey, it could be like Mind My Business Sunday too. It depends on what you're doing. So for me today, um, I just have been really sitting and thinking about a lot of things. And, I really got a lot of messages from all of you with regards to, this whole season, we have been moving in our journey into living happier lives and moving that meter closer and closer to living that happy life. But I actually received a lot of emails and a lot of different letters and notes and all asking me, how do I maintain my happiness in a crazy schedule that I have? Well, you know what, guys? It is difficult. I'm not going to lie to you because life happens and we are all challenged with different things. So look, I wanted to kind of lean into it a little bit and talk to you all about it because I think sometimes the best thing we can do is really have these open discussions, being honest, being transparent. And a lot of times when we get into conversations like this is a lot of blanketed talk. But your girl loves to peel back layers and open up the drapes and everything else. So, look, the question that I was asked was, Sonia, how do you maintain a good, positive outlook and not allow it to take or rob you of your joy with everything that you're faced with on a day to day basis? So, first and foremost, I have to tell you, I practice what I preach, and that is the truth of the matter. So, literally, I can't come in here and speak to you all about positivity if that's not how I'm living my life. Because people that are in a position that are teaching or instructing or counselors or therapists, coaches, we have to walk the talk. And so a lot of times what happens is I just put into place all the things that I tell you all to do. So first and foremost, I have a true schedule. And this is the funny thing. Over the weekend, I really have been working on my schedule coming in because as you know, we're coming into the new year, new season, new things are going to be opening up, which, oh, by the way, stick around. I got a lot to share with you in this episode. So, literally, for me, I started working and I thought I had the books here with me, but I have my schedulers with me. And I started really mapping out what I needed to do for my time, what time I needed to change, what I wanted to do, how it was going to look. So, first things first is you have to get clarity in what you want to achieve. So, for you to have happiness and to kind of walk through your life trying to achieve the things that you're doing or tapping into that essence of feeling happy every day, requires that you even sit down and plan things out appropriately. So, a lot of times as people, We are faced with so much and everything inundates us. And then on top of it, we're not ones that can script out every little thing, because if you're running a business, you know how quick things can change in a blink of a hat. If you run your household, you know how quick things can change in a dropping of a hat. So it requires us to kind of start putting in the necessary tools to help us to keep ourselves paced properly, as well as moving with clear intention. So, as you all know, I tell you all the time that we are supposed to have intention, not be so much of intentional, because intention has a clear purpose, direction, focus, aim. And that's what we want to have in our day to day lives. So it requires that we may need to sit down and really map out a schedule. And what does a schedule look like for you? Is it realistic for you to be up at like 5 in the morning? Or is it realistic for you to really get up at 6 because you'll be able to function better? So you have to look at it from that standpoint. Like, how am I going to function? What are things going to be like? How am I going to be moving? How is it going to pivot or change my life? So, when you look at it from that standpoint, you also have to go back to the night before. If you're going to be an early riser, you need to also be getting in bed at a pretty decent time as well. So your body has the needed rest that it has to get so you can function at that higher level and your brain gets to reset. So many times we neglect the sleeping part and we forget that we need this to be able to function correctly. We need it so our minds are being able to reset, be healthy, get that REM sleep that it needs. And if you're not able to really get that adequate sleep, then you need to talk to your primary care physician. Maybe you need to go and have a sleep study done. Maybe they need to subscribe a little of the melatonin. Whatever it is, you need to really look at it from that standpoint. And it requires of us to be honest with ourselves, to really understand that for us to be successful, we have to set ourselves up in a specific way to achieve it. So it requires certain things of us. Actions are always in place. So the other thing is, for me to be at a high function, I know that I must have a good diet. I need to have a good diet. I take my vitamins. I drink my water. I eat well. I make sure that things are going well. And even right now, I'm in this moment of getting myself fully together, of losing the weight that I've gained through being in a wheelchair and different things as far as it goes with medication that I'm no longer on. And I'm taking different meds that are not holding the weight on me, and understanding how I'm supposed to function inside of that as well. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves and understand that we need to put the necessary tools and equipment inside of our life to have the success that we're supposed to have. So, as I said, so now I'm looking at it from a standpoint of what I need to do as far as it goes with my diet. What is my routine? What am I willing to do? What am I willing to let go of so I can have the success? So, a lot of times these are different elements. And as I said, this weekend and all has been about planning. It has been about really moving with a clear intention. So, for me, it's important for me to constantly show up in a way that is going to present myself in that full dynamics, because I always want to be walking in my purpose too. And that's why I said I can't come out here and tell you and teach you things, but not put it into practice for myself, because then that's just a fraud. That's fake. It's like, shut up. So we don't want to do that. So there are times that, of course, we're going to stumble, we're going to trip, and we're going to fall. You're not going to meet the requirements of facing your diet correctly. You're going to just grab something and eat it because you didn't make a plan. So you have to plan things out. That is what is a key element of us keeping ourselves moving in the direction that we need. So As I was looking at the letter that came in, I realized that even the person has been watching me for a minute and wanted to know, like, do you really live this way? Are you really happy? Are you really positive? Yes, I am. I have a lot of reasons to be happy. I have a lot of reasons to be positive too. Many people also just walk through life feeling that, things are owed to them. And that's not the case. Things are not owed to us at all. We have to be willing to work for the things that we have too. So, when it comes to our happiness, that requires effort on our part. And that means that you have to commit to yourself. So, like I said, when we first get up, or do you have a good routine? Are you going to bed in an adequate amount of time that you're getting the necessary rest? Are you eating properly? Are you really staying hydrated? Are you taking the vitamins that you need? So that walks me right into the next part of that of really walking with an intention of making sure that I'm not wasting the time that I should be really focused on the necessary things in my life. So a lot of times we all get caught and trapped by social media. I'm guilty. I got to tell you all something. It'll make you laugh because it is so sad. I love social media's all the chefs on like Instagram. I love that. I can sit and watch them forever and a day. Matter of fact, when I just have downtime, that's my guilty pleasure, believe it or not. So literally, we have to be careful of not like just getting ourselves like put into this box. Yes, let's get snatched. Yes, that's what we're moving towards is that snatch. I told somebody recently. I said, "Yes, I'm working on my weight. I'm getting everything in order, getting my vitamins, my diet, everything cuz I want to be snatched." They said, "Oh, you want to be a snack?" I said, "Well, I want to be a snack on a cracker." They was like, no, no, you want to be a whole snack. I was like, okay, but I know what I want to be. So we have to be focused. It requires that focus. But literally, then what happens is that we want to be moving with that intention and not to be so, overwhelmed with everything that we're doing or what we're trying to do. But like I said, we can get caught up in wasting time by watching social media. So that requires that we got to put a little balance in that diet there too. Because, like I said, I can get caught up with those chefs and I love it. Now, listen, any of you chefs out here now that are on Instagram, and you're making those dumplings or that good food that you got, if you want a girl to come and try your stuff, please feel free to tap in. I will definitely be there. I have no issue with that either. So just to let you know. But yes, I'm telling you. So we have to be able to shift and pivot. So it requires that if we're going to start to set up our diet, our routine, and our life in a way that is going to bring us balance, because that's what you asked me. Like, how do you balance all this stuff? I see you everywhere and you always seem happy. Well, because I am happy. I am happy. So, but it requires for me to be happy is to be balanced. And a lot of times, as I work with clients, I work with individuals. I have all these different discussions on my show here on YouTube, Clubhouse, the Wisdom app. I always see and I always hear how the scales are unbalanced, and people are tipped one way or tilted the other way, but they're never in balance. So it requires of us to put some forethought into it. So if you know that you are a person who really kind of gets drawn in and your time gets wasted by maybe the constant barrage of phone calls, or maybe you like to spend time and it's like a social chat with your friends on WhatsApp. Maybe you have to structure it that you put it on like a silent mode so it gives you the time to focus on the necessary things to get done or be done in your day to day. Because, see, when we don't get the things done that we need to get done, that's when we have that stress. That's when we can't show up and be happy and just full of life and just living in the moment and having that aspect of what we want to do completed. So we have to be willing to look at ourselves and see if we're sabotaging ourselves in little ways. So those are other key elements. And the other thing is this: I'm happy because I feel that I'm walking in my purpose. And how many of you are doing that? Or how many of you have not figured out what that is exactly? Or maybe are you running away from it? So when we start running away from what we're called to do or what our purpose possibly can be, how can we feel fulfilled? We can't. Or if we're constantly in that time of constantly trying to figure it out, where we don't really sit and give it the true essence and thought pattern and the thought processes, the deeper questions and elements, how do we tap into it deeper? And how do we become even more thankful for our day to day if we don't have clear direction? So it's like this: I tell you that I want you to drive to Arizona, but I'm not going to give you a GPS. I'm not going to give you a map. And I'm going to tell you, you can't stop and ask anyone for directions, but you're to make it to Arizona from wherever you are here in the United States. Because if you're overseas, I'm not even going to tell you how to get over here to get to Arizona. See, it's the same thing that we have to be willing to do in our lives. We have to be willing to engage and turn on our GPS system. We have to be willing to tap into the tools and the necessary things that open up a pathway to us. So, if you're looking for that clarity in that purpose that you have you really sat down and done the necessary work to find out what it is you're passionate about? Have you really done the necessary work to see if that passion is truly just something that is nice? It's a hobby, but it's not going to get you paid. Or is it something that is so great, but you're so afraid to take the chance that you're running from it and you're hiding from it? So you cannot be happy because you're not fulfilling the things that you need to do. So it requires that you sit down and you start taking that deeper dive into self and ask yourself the questions of why. And sometimes when we have to sit in that space, in that place of why, is the hardest thing we ever have to do. So even for myself, I sit in a space and place of why a lot of times because I want to make sure, and I always want to tap in and make sure that I'm constantly happy in what I'm doing. And by far I am. I love what I'm doing. Let me tell you guys something. You know I love what I'm doing because this is like not work. This is kind of like my fun and my joy. Even though I got a lot on my plate. And I never lie to you all. I have a lot on my plate. I love it. I love it. And I have new things that I'm going to be birthing in the new year that you all are going to be stunned over. And it's going to be something different. And it's even scary for me because it is so different, even outside of what we've been doing and how I want to move with that intention. And even my team has been a little nervous about the things that I said I'm birthing and I want to do. But see, somebody has to be the visionary to be able to do it. And sometimes, if we don't sit down and give ourselves the blueprint, we will never do it. We will never tap into a deeper essence of our potential. So if you look at all these ones that have been successful, from the Oprah Winfrey's, Steve Jobs, Beyonce's, all of these ones. And why I said Beyonce is because this Beyonce has reinvented herself on numerous occasions right in front of your eyes. And she has stepped out and stepped in to different elements of her creativity, has challenged herself in such a deeper way that many of you all may not even be aware of, and even challenging herself to even try different sounds, different tones, different pitches, trying to do different acting jobs and different things of stretching her artistry. But she's not afraid to go in and do the necessary work. See, that's called an investment in self. And how are you investing in yourself? I'm a firm believer of truly investing in myself. And so when you all ask me questions, and I'm going to get to the second question that was asked as well, it's important for me to invest in myself because I know that it leads a beautiful legacy. And it also leaves an indelible mark. And are you willing to do that for yourself? And are you even willing to change the trajectory that maybe the legacy that was laid before you was on? See, sometimes we have to be willing to even step up on that platform. And that's a challenge. That's scary. But are you up for it? I think you are. So the second question that came in was this: Sonia, you seem like someone who is always so focused and driven. Where do you find your passion to keep moving forward? And if you ever have found yourself feeling like you just cannot go on, what did you do to move yourself past that thought? Well, guys, I think everyone has probably had a feeling like that. And I know for myself, I've had feelings like that, especially I was faced with something major. And I shared it with you all when I came back on air and when I showed back up. And even when I was going through other things, I've had many a challenges. What you all don't know, some of you don't know my story, and some of you do, but I have faced some things, to say the least. I have faced some things. But every time that I faced a challenge, and notice the words that I use. Notice the words that I use. So every time I faced a challenge, I found it necessary to rise to that challenge, to really kind of to face it front forward. I was not willing to let it go behind my back or slither away. I was really willing to face it. And for me, that is something important because, see, that is something that keeps me moving on that trajectory. That is what keeps me with a clear intention, aim, purpose, and direction. See, I'm a person who is a believer that we go through certain things because we have to really kind of understand. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. When I was in music, sometimes they would give me a song and they would have me singing it, and they would say, the words and how you're doing the singing is beautiful. Your singing is beautiful, but the emotion isn't there. And I would be like, really? And I would read over the words and everything, but I noticed that when I went through being paralyzed and being placed in a wheelchair, I realized that my music started to resonate in a deeper place. And that the words that were being placed there started to come into me differently. So as I started to sing them, they started to have a different feeling and texture and tone and brevity to them. So I matured and I went through something that allowed me to tap into a deeper essence of Sonia. So even when you hear me speaking and you hear me telling you these things, I'm coming from a deeper place and space because of where I've had to sit in those trials and those difficulties and those different ways that I've had to come through. From losing my two nieces very suddenly to AML, to becoming a warrior, champion, and a voice and an advocate for the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society, bringing forth the education so others can see, feel, and be touched and moved to help families that are going through this. To being paralyzed and in a wheelchair, of maybe not having the understanding and compassion of people that were going through this before, to now someone who is sitting in the midst of this, to now have compassion, love, and even a passion to help them to be heard and seen and respected. Because, see, it does not take away from who we are because we have a difficulty, or, as they say, a disability, or, going through certain elements doesn't take away who the person is. To walking forward and all of a sudden losing the wind beneath my wings is my mother, my manager, my best friend, to standing up in the middle of my company to really take the wings and the rein and to direct it in the direction it needed to go. See, experience is what brings me forward. And all these things that I've gone through, they've helped me to see that there's a deeper essence and quality as people we need to tap into. We have to be willing sometimes to move out of our way and allow ourselves to really lean in on the pain points or the difficulties of others so we can have that clarity in who we are, where we're going, and how we face things. So, yes, I've faced many things. And my life is not all roses because anybody who says their life is, you should really be like, oh, really? Because we all have ebbs and flows in our life. We all go through challenges, but it's the way that we face them. It's the way that we show up or the way we don't show up. So I say to you this: my challenges have made me a better person. My challenges have made me a better therapist, a better friend, a better mom, a better wife, a little bit of everything. Because it just kind of changes everything. And it's the perspective that you have on things. And I just look at my life and I'm grateful for each day. And I look at the challenges that I've gone through and things that I'll face even in the future, different things you never know because you don't know how life is. But I pray that I will step up and stand up in those difficult times. Now, don't get me wrong that there are times that it is challenging and there are hardships and different things that I go through that, sometimes I have to take that power in pausing And that's what you all don't realize, that power in pausing that I teach you all, I use that. That is like my go-to. That is like that armor that I go to, because I realize that power in pausing allows me to reset and to focus and get clarity in my mind so I have aim, purpose, and direction and focus. So I'm not afraid to pause. I'm not afraid to step back and just be like, "Whoo, you got to breathe, girl. Breathe. Let's let this water got to start rolling." Because see, I don't want to take on that water and start to drown. I don't want to take on that water and start to sink. And so it's the same thing that you have to be willing to do, is to stop for a moment. Stop putting those shoes on, lacing them up so tight and running away, but take them off and plant yourself and ground yourself and allow yourself to breathe through that moment so you can have clarity, so you can have direction. So you're not just floating in the wind. Like you tear up a piece of paper and you throw it up. It doesn't have a direction, it just blows everywhere. And we don't want to be like that. So it's a challenge. And like I said, I face my challenges, I don't run. So that's the difference of why I show up in such a way, in such a different way than maybe people expect. And I do things differently. So the next question that came in was, Sonia, what would you tell someone that is struggling to find their calling? Well, I would tell you that you need to sit in that space and place of pausing. You got to pause. You got to hear that voice. You got to hear that inner self. You have to talk to yourself, but you have to be willing to listen. And see, listening is a skill. And sometimes we are so willing to talk, 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 but we're not willing to be quiet because we're afraid that if we're quiet, we really will hear what we need to hear. And so I would tell you that you have to be willing to pause. You have to be willing to have people that are doing things that you want to do, not to be afraid to go in and ask them, you know what? How are you doing this? I want to do this, but I don't know how. Can you tell me or show me or direct me? And sometimes as people, we can be afraid to ask for help because we don't want to look needy. That doesn't mean you're needy at all. It means that you need direction. And like I said, is your GPS programmed correctly? Is your GPS programmed correctly? So let's take away the pretenses. Let's stop acting like we cannot ask for help. Let's stop acting as if we know everything, because we don't. That's why we go to school. That's why you went to school. That's probably why you went to college. You definitely went to high school and to elementary school because you didn't know anything. You didn't know how to spell your name. You didn't know your colors. You couldn't even write your name, but you went to school and they taught you all these things. And then your parents worked with you too to help you along your way. And you wasn't afraid to go ask hey, mom, dad, what about such and such? When you was a kid, you probably asked every question in the book, and your parents probably thought like, Lord, where's she going with this? I know mine did. Mine always was like, uh-oh, here she comes. But it was because I wanted to know. And even in my adult life, I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to go ask, and I'm not afraid to go look up stuff and go study. So sometimes that's what we have to be willing to do. But we have to be willing to slow down enough to hear it and to receive it. Because, see, if you don't do that, how can you receive it? How can you hear it? You just move about and you don't stop and you're just constantly going. So, how can anything catch up with you? How can you catch up with it? Because you're dodging, because you're so running around and trying this and not really tapping into anything. You can't do it. So, look, I love all the questions that have been sent in. I love that you all have even wanting to know how I move or what I'm doing to keep myself going in this way and what drives me. What drives me is something even deeper to really see you move in such a dynamic way. Because I love when you all are showing up. Yes, I love this comment. It says asking for help shifted me as a person and my business in 180 degrees. Because see, when you ask, you can receive. Matter of fact, you can receive more than you ever thought you could. Because when we ask those questions or we are sincere in our ask, people are willing to move and help you. Now, this is the other thing I want to tell you all about this asking too. When you ask, don't always have your hand like this. Be willing to sit there in a place in a space to give, not to always want like this. So if someone comes and asks you to help them, can you really do it from your heart or is it all about this? Because if it's about this, that's why people don't come and ask. And that's why people don't tap into you. See, sometimes we have to give without want. And I know it's hard, and I know we're all trying to get that bag, as they say. But you're also going to get whatever is coming to you in the long run when we do certain things out of the goodness of our hearts, out of the kindness of our hearts. And especially when people are asking in sincerity because they don't know, they are frustrated, they're feeling like, I just need to give up. But we as people need to be willing to step up. And sometimes we got to blow the wind just a little bit harder so they can get their wings up a little better. And we can't be afraid to do that. Because, see, we're gliding. And many of us are. We have taken flight. And some of us are not afraid. We're like, hey, look, we're gonna go jump off that cliff over there. But guess what? As I'm free falling over here, I got this parachute. I'm gonna pull the cord. I'm good though, but I'm gonna pull the cord when I need it. But at times we are maybe free falling and we have to reach over and put that person's hand on that ripcord so they know that they have it and they can pull that cord too. And see, that's that important part that many forget. And that's that important element that people constantly forget. Yes, you must put their advice into action. Yeah, because this is the thing. If you don't put things into action, it's just kind of like, let's just say you've been on a desert and somebody brings you water and you just don't drink it. What do you think happens? Go figure. Same difference. So we have to be willing to do things. We have to be willing to implement the things that we learn, the tools that are given. And even when the tools are given, and sometimes they don't work, you have to go back and ask, how did I not use the tool correctly? What step did I miss? And you might be shocked that it was just some little tweak that you had to do. And now that you went back to find out, you're able to do it. You're able to step into it. So I wanted to come in and spend this mindful Sunday with you and just kind of tap into the different letters that have come in, different questions. I got tons more questions, but I just wanted to take on these today to really to get you to sit in a space and a place and have you really think about certain elements in your life. Are you waking up with a clear intention? Are you having clear intention? Do you have a routine? Are you sitting down and planning things out? Does it mean that you need to go and work your schedule over and maybe implement certain things differently? But you got to be willing to really look at it for what it really is. And then if you see that there are necessary things that you do have to change, you got to be willing to do that necessary change as well. So you can show up and show out. Because, see, that's what we want to do. We always want to show up in our best way possible. We always want to present our best. That's like if you baked a cake and lo and behold, the cake fell in the middle, but you brought it anyway. Nobody would want that cake. What happened to this cake? You would go back and you would make sure that cake looked beautiful so you could present that cake. So do the same for yourself. Don't present yourself with a lame cake. Present yourself with a good cake. One that is delicious. Think about your favorite cake. Think about it. Maybe you all are into like red velvet cake. I love red velvet cake, by the way. Just let me tell you something. Love it. Um, and I love a good pecan pie. I lived in Texas for a while and literally I hadn't tasted pecan pie till I lived there. And I got to tell you, I haven't had a good one since I left Texas. Let me just tell you. But that's the thing. It's quality. And that's what you want to give to yourself. Quality. I always tell people that I love fine wines. I love great food and beautiful watches. And so I love these things and I'm not afraid to give them to myself, but I don't want to give myself quality that's not good and that's not going to be presented nice or it's going to turn my wrist green or whatever, it does, or maybe it tarnishes or whatever. So it's the same thing that you don't want to do for yourself. You want to show up and give yourself the best opportunity possible. So that means leaning into the process a little bit more. It means doing the necessary work for you. Because guess what? The best investment that you will ever make is in yourself. Then it trickles down to your children and into your family. But if you invest in you and refine yourself, whew, you'll be surprised. Because the decimal that you will vibrate at is deafening. And those that don't vibrate at that decimal, but want to vibrate at that decimal, you will get to start to imprint upon. So I encourage you to really show up for yourselves. Because I certainly show up for Sonia. And I show up for my clients. I show up for you all. And I want to always give the best of myself. And I always want to do the best for myself as well. Because, see, we have to feel proud of ourselves too. We have to recognize and celebrate our micro wins too. Because when we start to do that, we move in a different kind of way. It has a different kind of swagger, as they say. So, what's your swag like? Sit and think about that today. Do a little deeper pondering and see where you come up with. I always love to come in, and this is kind of an impromptu kind of thing today. Was not scheduled. I didn't send out any messages or anything like on my newsletter or anything like that. So this was literally just an impromptu. A bunch of things came in, letters and everything, and I just said, "Look, I'm gonna come in and go live and talk to you about it. And when you get to see it, when you get to, visit with it, it's here and it sits in this place in this space. I hope that you'll share this with other people. Don't forget to come and join us over on blogtalkradio.com/whispers in bottle every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we are moving our trajectory into living happier lives. Come and get social with me on Instagram at whispers in a bottle _podcast. Parent company is La Paz Imaging. So you can come over there on both sides. Got tons of stuff going on. You're going to love it. I'm telling you. Then we have our private Facebook group, which is located at Whisper in a Bottle. So please make sure you join me, okay? Because I'd love to just tap in. My name is Sonia Loray. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, educator, and motivational speaker. But by far, I'm honored to always say I'm the host of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Friday. That's live every single Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, guys, have a great Sunday. And don't forget, sit in that space and place. You may be shocked what happens. Take care.